There's a new development at the Supreme Court that may further weaken Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. They may be taking away the private action to sue to enforce the Voting Rights Act, which mean that nonprofits such as the ACLU or private individuals could not sue to make sure this was being properly enforced. It would be left to the Department of Justice to sue, or in this case, definitely not sue to enforce the rights. All of this coming, of course, as people already calling this the new John Crowe era, calling it John Crowe, of course, after Chief Justice Roberts, John Roberts. But they are also ushering in a new civil rights movement where activists such as Tennessee State Representative Justin J. Pearson is leading the fight. He spoke powerfully on the Tennessee floor, speaking out about the redistricting of Memphis, of all places, where Martin Luther King was assassinated and gave his last speech, being redrawn to separate it into 3 different districts in order to dilute the Black voting power there. Take a listen to what he said.
Doing today is eviscerating the only Black majority congressional district in our state because we are majority Black. We are here because this Republican Party has to seek to steal elections and seats, because the president and the party have refused to address the pain, the suffering, and the struggling of everyday Tennesseans. This is about attacking, targeting, and cracking District 9 into pieces for more political and racial dominance and white supremacy in the state of Tennessee. And we need to realize that the Calais decision that you all are basing your decisions off of, that gutted the Voting Rights Act, that Voting Rights Act was paid in blood. It was not just a parchment of paper signed into law. It was paid in blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. Paid in blood by Medgar Evers, paid in blood by Fannie Lou Hamer. It's been paid in blood year over year, time after time, assassination after assassination, lynching after lynching.
Representative Justin Pearson giving us hope that there are new leaders, new voices who will bring us through this moment. Now, he is not new to activism. If you remember, he was one of the 2 Justins that protested against the Tennessee lax gun laws after a school shooting there. And he was expelled. He and the other Justin were expelled for disorderly conduct. But he re-won his seat in a special election. Well, he was running to become a Congress member. And his district is one of the districts that Tennessee was attempting to dilute. But he's speaking out in such a way that his photo, the photo of him standing up against the state trooper that was not allowing him into the Senate floor where the negotiations, or if you want to call it that, or decision to dilute the power of his power and the power of his community, that photo will be in the history books. And it is that resiliency and that leadership that we all need, because the Supreme Court is certainly not going to help us. And really a stunning development, because honestly, they have done enough. The damage that they have done with the Voting Rights Act, so close to the election, the issuing this decision and so close to the primaries where we're seeing Louisiana literally throw out ballots in order to try to redistrict, has created havoc. It is the opposite of that Purcell doctrine. If you remember back in December, the Supreme Court said that the lower court, who said that Texas couldn't redistrict because they were doing it in a way that violated Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Well, the Supreme Court overturned that, saying it was too close to the election because it was too close to the date where candidates had to determine whether or not they were going to run. That was back in December. But yet here, they're issuing this brand new decision that, as we've seen, create absolute havoc. But for that, they don't mind. Just recently, Chief Justice Roberts came out and said that the American public has it wrong, that we think they're political and partisan, but they are not. Well, they certainly are, and actions like this show it. And that my takeaway from that statement is he is paying attention. He's paying attention to our criticism, so we just have to get louder. Well, this is the new development that is really serious because right now you can sue, any of us can sue under the Voting Rights Act of Section 2. In fact, most of the times it has been sued in history and has been sued by private nonprofits and private individuals. For the past 40 years, 182 successful cases have been sued. And out of those, only 15 were brought by the Attorney General. So if you take away a private law enforcement, for one, you have to depend on whoever is in office and the philosophy. And as we know clearly, Tobland at the DOJ is not going to try to help communities of color or maybe women, or who knows what other community. He's not going to help anybody other than Republicans win or get their vote protected. So it's a really dangerous place for our right to vote to leave it only with the Department of Justice. But even on top of that, you could see most cases have not even been brought just by the Department of Justice across all administrations. We have a new sponsor, Avocado Green Mattress. Their certified organic mattresses are specifically designed to relieve pressure points, support your body the way it needs, and help you actually get the deep restorative sleep you've been missing. Every mattress is made with thoughtfully sourced materials and built with real care, so you get incredible sleep night after night. Their mattresses, like Avocado's best-selling Green Mattress, plus their city bed frame, bring timeless design, quality, and sustainability into the bedroom. Avocado focuses on thoughtful craftsmanship, creating products that feel intentionally made rather than mass-produced so you can feel good when you buy. When products are made with real certified organic materials, they don't just feel better, they can actually provide better support, breathability, and durability. So they're both good for you and good for the planet. Choosing avocado is one of the most sustainable choices you can make, as they are made with natural, certified organic materials that are responsibly sourced and last longer, which means less waste. Avocado products are made, not manufactured, and thoughtfully crafted with real materials to deliver lasting comfort and support. Go to avocadogreenmattress.com/mistrial to check out their mattress and furniture sale. That's avocadogreenmattress.com/mistrial. avocadogreenmattress.com/mistrial. So there's 3 cases right now that all have to do with whether or not there is a private right of action, whether or not somebody can sue privately to enforce this congressional law, which is the Voting Rights Act. They have combined all 3 cases and they are looking at it in their conference. In the conference is when Supreme Court justices decide which cases to take a look at because, of course, they get so many cases in front of them. If you remember, I was just reporting how Trump is trying to ask the Supreme Court to take his E. Jean Carroll case. He has 2 different E. Jean Carroll cases he's now asking the Supreme Court to take. But the $5 million one, the Supreme Court has looked at 7 different conferences and have not decided to take that case or not. 4 out of the 9 have to agree. 5 out of the 9 make a decision, either confirm a law or change a law. But you need 1 less, 4, to decide whether or not to take the case at all. So they are deciding whether or not to take the case of if there is going to be a private action. The 8th Circuit decided a few years ago that there was no private action to sue. And the Supreme Court back in July of 2025 stayed that decision. They paused it until they could take a further look at it. We know that Gorsuch, Alito, and Thomas dissented. They wanted to take the case because they did not want to pause it, which essentially means that they do not think there is a private action to sue. So we know we have 3 votes on the Supreme Court who would want to take this case in order to make sure people cannot sue to enforce this. 3 votes. So you have to either convince Kavanaugh, which I think he's probably the most likely because he seems to have gotten more extreme, or Roberts or Amy Coney Barrett. Roberts, he's the kind of justice who wants to make change slowly. And so he probably is already realizing that he is in hot water. He's the kind of person who wants to boil the water slow enough where the frog doesn't realize they're getting boiled. His one criticism about the Dobbs decision wasn't that they were taking away women's right to choose. It was that they were doing it too quickly for the American people. He might be a harder one to come on board, but Kavanaugh could be likely. And if that happens, then in the middle of this complete chaos where really the ACLU and other organizations are at the forefront, making sure that this voting rights is protected. Like even in Tennessee, just the representative Justin Pearson and other candidates are suing because they are saying that the way Tennessee is doing it is actually against Tennessee. I mean, there are so many lawsuits going on around the country that would go away if indeed the Supreme Court ruled that there was no private cause of action. So we are paying attention to this because, as we know, the Supreme Court is not going to save us. Will Justice Gorsuch, Alito, Thomas have their way? They certainly had their way with gutting Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which Thomas has wanted to do for a very long time and telegraphed that for a very long time. So really important development that we're paying attention to here at the MeidasTouch Network. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And at the same time, we are paying attention to this growing civil rights movement and activism, the marches in Alabama, the vocal leaders like Representative Justin Pearson and others who are really leading the fight against this injustice, and really the Republicans who want us to become cynical and not vote. If you haven't, follow the Mistrial podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to do that. Check out our Mistrial sponsors. So grateful for the Mistrial sponsors because they do not censor what I have to say, which is so important in this moment.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.